Your friends start getting married. Some of them have been married and they start to have kids. And you see the world around you, they're kind of like moving on. And then you're trying to step onto the next one where your other friends are already stepped on and then they're moving on. And I think you kind of like feel lonely in those moments.
I don't want to be in an unhappy marriage. I don't want to be in an unhealthy marriage. So looks like the possibility of that happening is very slim. So I might as well just avoid it. As a culture, we have internalized this message that unless I have a very well-paying job, unless I have a home, unless I have a car, unless I have this very well-established money-based security, marriage is not worth pursuing.
You should expect the same thing from the other person, whether that individual, that potential individual, is depending on God to trust in Him and take this step. Again, this is a significant decision for your life for next 30, 40, 50 years.
Hey, welcome back to another episode with On Mission with the Mindies. We are so excited to be here again. Chris and I always have so much fun doing this. It's our passion, and we are so grateful we even get to do this. Our desire here with On Mission with the Mindies is to help you by using God's word to deal with faith and culture so that you can be effective and transformed individuals, which will in return create healthy families and then healthy communities. So that's our heart behind all of this. And we really hope we are able to bridge that gap between knowing who God is and what He has for us to how we can actually live it out effectively. If you have been following us, you know that we have been talking about relationships and the various aspects of healthy relationships. We were talking about transparency, authenticity, how to deal with conflict, how to be able to resolve it in a Christ-like manner, and a few other things. So please do check out our other episodes if that would be something that would benefit you. But now we are moving into specific kinds of relationships, and we're heading into marriage. All things marriage.
Yeah.
And we're really excited because it is such a big need. It's something that really, really affects us as individuals and families. So we will be talking about how one can effectively choose an individual in the context of marriage. What does it mean to look for somebody? Because we come from a culture where arranged marriages are a huge thing. But there's a lot of, pros and cons to it and a lot of other things. But essentially, I think we're going to dive into, before we step into marriage fully, what can we be looking out for if you're considering to be married?
Predominantly, where we come from, Indian culture, we have arranged marriages, traditional arranged marriages settings. And if we see in a 5-year bracket numbers in percentage of data that in from 2000 to 2005, it was about 75 to 90% are arranged marriages. So 5-year bracket 2005 to 10, it goes 10% down. 2010 to 2015, 7% down. Now it has finally come up to, in 2020 to 25, on average, from all the sources, like let's say Indian Urban Human Development Survey or any other like sites that take surveys among people, it's only 40 to 50%.
Wow.
So you see the graph going down, down, down on arranged marriage setting. That means what we can infer from this data that we get online is this, that more and more young professionals and adults are wanting to have liberty in choosing their life partners or future spouses. But at the same time, there is also a lot of challenge in how they navigate this setting. Let's say there's only 20 to 30% of people who are saying, I don't want to get married now because I have these reasons. Let's say there's another 30% of people saying, yes, I want to get married, but the reasons are from the other side. Or do you have a stable income? Do you have all this stuff that you already need to have by this 25, 30-year time span that you have? So there is, on the both sides, people are wanting to get married, but at the same time, the number that is also increasing is like, I don't want to get married.
Mm.
So many reasons, factors in mainland India, and those who are abroad who are Indians, working here, IT industry and all that stuff. Yes, they do have desire to get married, but a lot of challenges that come up.
True.
So we'll look into that, but I also want to see what is the reality on this side of the world that Americans face, or any young professional who's wanting to get married, or are there's increase in these numbers of I don't want to get married, or I'm indifferent, I'm neutral. What are those things?
Yeah. The numbers, Chris, across board are dropping.
Mm.
I don't think this is just an Indian thing anymore,
Mm-hmm.
because, we were looking at some of the Barna research.
Mm-hmm.
We can link those on the video so you can actually go and look in detail. They're a little dated, but I think the numbers probably would have only grown since then.
Mm-hmm.
But looks like in America, the average age to get married when it was like 1960 and 1970 was 20 years for women and 22 for men.
Mm.
But today, it's well over 27 for women and well over 29 for men.
Oh, wow.
And you will not believe that back like just 20 years ago or 30 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
the percentage of people who were married above the age of 18 was like 72%.
Wow.
But today, it's less than 45%.
Mm.
So it kind of tells something like there is a significant rise in the percentage of people who are single now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a significant rise in the numbers when we talk about how many of them are single or not married who are above the age of 30.
Mm.
So I see two trends is one, people just not wanting to be married,
Mm-hmm.
or the other trend is, well, I just want to wait longer to be married because I think marriage is kind of an obstruction to an ongoing life.
Or a limiting factor, they might be thinking that way.
Probably.
Yeah.
And I think this is affecting us as a whole culture.
Mm.
It's affecting families. And I think it's really affecting young people who want to get married, but there's a significant fear attached to it.
Mm.
And I think a lot of them stem from cultural lies.
Mm-hmm.
And, we should be the first ones to admit that arranged marriages too have their pros and cons.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the potential to create a lot of damage. But also they can be something that can bring families together, build cultures and society.
Yes.
So, yeah, I do think another interesting observation, Chris, is people who are Christians, at least in the West, are more likely to be married than people who don't have faith or do not believe in anything.
Or whether it's a significant aspect of their life.
True.
Yeah. Okay.
But sadly, the percentage of divorces you see among people who are married but are not Christians, and the percentage of divorces you see among those people who call themselves Christians is the same.
Wow.
So it kind of says something, right? Is yes, we are really enthusiastic about being married, but somehow that marriage is not sustained or it's falling apart. So there is that. Yeah, there is that struggle right now.
What is the driving thing that moving people away from marriage, or like what is motivating for anybody to say I don't want to get married, or what might be motivating them to see good side of the marriage or bad side of the marriage? So we'll look into the reasons why people are saying no, this is not for me. There are those stories which affect you so much so that you make it your own conviction. It's like, no way. No, I don't want to get into that mess which limits me or which puts me in that risky position. And like you said, marriage has become a little more of a cringe word now.
Yeah.
marriage, as soon as you say that, even in Indian context or even in Western culture, is like, no, it's kind of like becoming a taboo.
Mm,
So we'll look into those reasons. What it may, why does it sound so kind of like foreign?
I agree. I cannot help but think of our own story, Chris.
Oh, okay.
We sometimes I think we talk about this as a distant reality, but it has been my reality for a very long time until I eventually got married,
Mm-hmm.
where I had this strong belief in my mind that I would not want to be married before I was 25.
Mm-hmm.
And, genuinely, I was very scared. I think when I listen to other people to talk about marriage within, the young circles of singles that I meet now, even though I'm married and we have connections, one of the most determining factors is we've all had very poor examples of what marriage is.
Yeah.
When I was reading the statistics, Asians have a significantly lower percentage of divorces.
Yeah. They don't want to get separated.
Yes, but I think in thinking of it in that term, there have been many dysfunctional families. There
Mm.
is no statistic for that.
Yeah, that'd be a troubling number.
Yeah, because we are a very broken system. I think within arranged marriages in India, a huge proportion, we don't talk about things, we just accept things for what they are, or at least that's what we tell ourselves. And I cannot tell you how many friends I've had who have been going through a difficult time, whose mothers told them, well, this is what it's going to be once you're married, you
Wow.
just suck it up. Or and even sadly, their grandmothers said the same thing to their mothers when they were going through a hard time.
Mm.
So I do think we grow up in families which look pretty good on the outside. We kind of pat our backs and say, "Oh, we don't have divorces in our family. We don't go through that kind of stuff." Well, the West easily divorces or stuff like that. And I think only after coming to America, I've realized we're not really very far from the kind of brokenness we experience here.
That's right.
We tend to stay together in very unhealthy, toxic family relationships, and it takes a toll on us. We are scared, right? Because what if this becomes my story? I don't want to be in an unhappy marriage. I don't want to be in an unhealthy marriage. So looks like the possibility of that happening is very slim. So I might as well just avoid it.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one good word you said. We'll delve into more of that soon, which is the word healthy.
Yeah.
You said something on the other side, like unhealthy settings or scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say the other reason might be for people saying, young professionals saying, marriage is not for me, because I think they don't see it as a level playing field, in the sense, let's say in traditional Indian marriage setting, matchmaking, as soon as the bridegroom and the bride's side meet, the priorities are set very much different.
That's
like
true.
like like they're not equal on the scale. So the questions straight away hit you with some of the things, like, okay, how much savings you have, what is the earning capacity that you can show,
Mm-hmm.
and the expectations, like you have a well paying job security, and you have a house, you have a car, you have all this is like mainland India that I'm talking
I
about.
think it's here too.
Yeah, probably. Do you have a green card?
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
are you a citizen before 25? All those things.
Right.
Yes, I think they feel like, especially on the bridegroom side, and I'm just giving a benefit of doubt, there could be some of those expectations laid on even the bride side,
Yeah.
probably. So all I'm saying is that I think this is one of the main big things in the mindset culture, where it would not encourage for people very much eagerly yearning to be get married, because all these hurdles that they would see is like, oh no, man, I don't want to go through that route.
Mm.
I could see one of that.
I believe this narrative was kind of imposed for a long time, saying, oh, does the guy have this? Does the girl do this? And now we've reached a place where, as a culture, we have internalized this message that unless I have a very well paying job, unless I have a home, unless I have a car, unless I have this very well established money based security, marriage is not worth pursuing.
Yeah.
And I've had friends who told me, well, I don't want to bring my kids into this mess. I don't want to bring another woman into my mess. I would rather sort it all out first and then we will get into, things. And I sometimes wonder how much of it is even attainable at such an early age. So you put all of this pressure on you and that becomes your focus, right?
Yeah.
And I've seen so many young women who say, my career comes first. I am no way opposing women working. I'm all for it. I think women should work if they are able to. But I think if that becomes your topmost priority, marriage is not your life goal. It doesn't have to be. In the same way, work doesn't have to become life goal. I think if you're calling ourselves Christians, we need to say following Christ is our life goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in light of that, what does work look like? What does marriage look like? So I think nowadays, more and more young people long for independence.
Yes.
And while it might seem very noble at its heart,
Yeah.
the motive, I think it is causing more harm than good. Because what are we willing to sacrifice on the altar of independence? I think there's a huge need within us to prove ourselves.
Yes.
I've seen it so much more in women these days because I think that it stems from a place of being hurt, being trampled on, or they would have seen their moms not being able to work and dads not caring for their family as well, or moms being taken advantage of at home or not respected.
Yeah.
And so we as a culture have shifted the narrative, not entirely based on that, but I think a huge proportion, especially within Indian families, where women are so determined to make sure this doesn't happen to them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with the need to be wanting to be independent or kind of like being close to perfection
Yeah.
before you start your family per se, and
Yeah.
then bring the next offspring, next generation into this scenario, new setting that you want it to be picture perfect
Yeah.
before you do anything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see the other thing, other reason, which is I think everywhere, not just only limited to Indian culture or anywhere that you grew up. It could be Western, South, North, South, anywhere. Is this one thing called examples around you, like breakups. Everybody, including myself, was in that position. Like, I want a girlfriend. And I see a lot of my friends have girlfriends, but I think the immaturity or whatever you would want to put there in that setting, there is that brokenness in that little understanding, knowledgeable phase of your life. You have seen a lot of those examples that people being together and then split right away. People being together for a couple of years and then split out of that relationship. And I think those examples would paint a picture in your head. I think this is how it's going to be even after you get married. Probably it's not far away to connect that kind of dot and connect marriage to be in that. Because I think people generally, culture has told everybody, every one of us, that if especially if you're not having kind of like a biblical Christian worldview, that marriage is just another relationship. It's not a covenant you make before the people.
And God.
Yeah. And God, especially. It's a sacred covenant that you're making to your lifelong partner, that I will not leave you. Because the culture has told, all the chaos around you is telling, oh, it's just another relationship. And if every time, let's say you get into fight with your spouse after getting married or something, if the option for just, I want to get out of this is the only thing that if the other person is wanting to say, you are walking on eggshells.
I think we will always run the risk of being hurt.
Yeah, there is that.
Right. Any relationship comes with that risk, and there's nothing you can do about it. We are all taking a chance. But however, if that is deterring us from actually being married, there's something more to look into, because maybe in the past we've had some broken relationships
Hmm.
that have hurt you significantly. So that sometimes becomes one of the main reasons why you don't want to consider marriage.
All these are the reasons, some of the reasons that people are saying, no, I don't want to get into this kind of relationship or this marriage that kind of like limits me, binds me, and all that. Covenant, all these words for people to understand. But we want to look at like what does Bible say about it? What is the word healthy understanding of marriage? And what do you need to have in forefront of your head to look for in a healthy marriage, in this relationship that you say it should be a lifelong partner?
I think a lot of our worldview is shaped by what people tell us,
Mm-hmm.
what we've heard our peers tell us about marriage, how we view their relationships, how we've seen our parents' relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, Chris, the final word on marriage doesn't come from culture.
Yeah.
They don't get to dictate what this institution is because they haven't created it.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard so many people say, "Oh, marriage is a social construct. You don't need marriage. You can just technically coexist together and it's the same thing."
Mm.
But I find it very fascinating that in Genesis, this is one of the first relationships that God establishes on a human level.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from the first relationship between Adam and Eve, which I think to this day stands as the most important relationship, is our relationship with God. The second most important relationship, I think, happens diagonally, and that is marriage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I could not help but notice that before Adam and Eve took on all the other responsibilities of multiplying, becoming parents, and all that, their first relationship was with each other.
Yes.
And I cannot help but wonder why God would give us relationships that are burdensome or that restrict us or that take away. Because if you're truly trusting that God is good, then everything that comes from God's hand should be good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not denying the fact that we are broken people, which leads to broken relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But because the culture says, oh, this is a burden, marriage takes away the freedom that you have.
Yeah.
There is more to life or better life when you're not married. So I'm wondering, why is the culture saying this? But God's word is completely flipping that context for us. What do you think is happening in Genesis?
That is true. Right after God created man, God saw everything was good, but he also saw Adam being alone, and he's like, no, I need to give him. And he made woman. He made Adam to fall asleep, go into deep sleep, and then he took one of the rib, and then he made Eve out of that. And the main Bible says, when we think about where does it mention that, what's the reasoning that God made? He wanted to give Adam a good helper.
Mm-hmm.
It is only kind of like in an encouraging tone, but not like a limiting factor, like how the culture portrays
Right.
everybody around to be. But I think it's more of like to assist you, to encourage you, to lead you in this relationship. It's not, definitely it's not a limiting factor. How people say, who I would assume that whoever is saying something like that is not having an understanding of a biblical perspective, or to better put it this way, like a human flourishing perspective. Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I certainly see this within our culture where it's been portrayed so poorly that the good examples are almost always overlooked as the exception.
Mm.
Like, oh, they have a good marriage, but everybody else, I think, they have what we have in marriage, right? It's when you see somebody really loving each other well, or really helping each other build a future together, it has become an oddity.
Yeah.
We are surprised that it's actually going well. But like you said, I really like the word flourishing. What do you mean by that?
One of the big important things that we need to remember, God gave Adam Eve to be a helper. But out of that love, out of that relationship, out of that new relationship that God gave, is this institution of being together and then procreating.
Mm,
That's all of us understand. And there's another good scripture in the Bible. I think it's in the Genesis too, that God made them to be one flesh
right.
so that they multiply. And he commands them to fill the earth
Mm-hmm.
and subdue, like dominion, have dominion over everything. That's the first commandment that God gives Adam, to take dominion over everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that command still continues to be like, you come together and then you multiply and then you procreate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the outcome of that, which is human flourishing, is you teach your offspring, the next generation, like who God is. Why do you need to honor him? Why do you need to glorify him? He's worthy of it. And all these things come from the understanding of who God is
Mm.
and why this institution of marriage is so basic and so how do you say, starting point of something very beautiful, very uh, amazing, how God has laid this foundation right here with Adam and Eve. And this is the basic unit of culture, of countries, ethnicities, nations. Everything comes from this just one basic simple unit.
Mm. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Just thinking of the fact that, you know, God's design has to be perfect. I think we are flawed,
Hmm.
but the design is perfect.
Yes.
And as you're talking, I cannot help but think of my own personal story, because I think there's no better way to communicate truth sometimes than experiencing it.
Hmm.
And I can tell you, Chris, when my parents started telling me, "Oh, it's time for you to be married," and I wanted to run because I was scared. I was scared that there's a potential to be hurt. I was scared that this person who's going to come into my life will never understand my passions, my joys, and it might end up in a way that might totally ruin my life or the effort I've put in to build my life to this point.
Yeah.
And I remember when I started talking to you, we both would have a lot of conversations.
Yeah. Disagreements.
Yeah. And I can tell you, it wasn't certainly love at first sight, right?
Hmm.
We both had to ask each other, is this what we really want?
Yeah.
And this has happened after heartbreaks too.
Hmm.
So it was a difficult process to come to a place and say, I am willing to trust God rather than myself.
Yes.
I am willing to trust God rather than this other individual to see what the outcome is going to be.
Hmm.
And I think for a lot of people, there is that ongoing struggle of why go through this process? Why get your heart broken? What if there's nobody out there? Do you believe in soulmates, Chris?
Soulmates. I think with what you were saying, the question lingers in everybody's head because of the nature of culture that we are surrounded by. Is this, you want to wait out and wait for that perfect somebody that would come and complete you, all these movie cliche dialogues that we hear. But I think, just imagine, pause yourselves a little bit. If you're asking this question, I want to wait out, I want to wait for this perfect one. And imagine what kind of things that you would be kind of like tempted to while you're waiting. Again, the adversary is trying to find any and every way to hit you so that you fall in temptation and then sin. Do you have a soulmate? Do you have this perfect linking of this soul that you're waiting for? Uh, I don't know. How long are you willing to wait for this soulmate? And I would say, like, how many are you going to pass to to assume that that person might be my soulmate? And No, I would see it this way. The healthy way of seeing it is no, no perfect person is going to come into your life or my life. You are just willing to depend on God, to trust Him, and then take this step of faith. That's what we would call in Christian understanding. And you're trusting God, and that's what we are looking at.
Mhm.
Trusting God more than yourself to wait for this perfect person. And that's how I see soulmate cliche.
I might be the odd one here in saying that I honestly actually don't believe in soulmate,
Okay.
mainly because I don't think it's biblical.
Yeah.
Every time you set yourself up with that kind of thought process that there is this one person for me that the universe is holding somewhere, like you were saying, you are going to miss out on some really good people.
Yeah, again, you will see the flaws in everyone because we are fallen.
I agree, exactly. And a lot of times, God brings people who are less than ideal into our life.
So that He shaped you and me.
That's true. Let me tell you guys, when I was thinking of a potential husband, I had a very different picture painted in my head. And so every time I would even be remotely drawn to somebody, I would just disregard because I'm like, yeah, they don't fit into these categories. So I don't think this would ever work. And surprisingly, when Chris stepped in, which was also through an arranged marriage format, there were some things I had in my head that I thought were like non-negotiables. And instantly I was like, oh no, this is not going to work out. He's very different from what I am picturing him to be. This ideal person in my mind is going to be somewhere. This is not going to work out. And only after investing time, only after spending time, having conversations, I realized God has brought somebody into my life that I could have never picked for myself.
Exactly. The perfect one.
Well, that he thinks so. But I'm really glad that God had given me wisdom at that point so that I didn't act in my own stupidity to just say no. Because there was going to be somebody somewhere, an imaginary person waiting for me somewhere. And now, 6 years into our marriage, I can tell you, I am so glad that God did what He did. Because as a husband, I see Him in so many different ways fit perfectly into my life. Not without flaws, but as good as it can be. And so, yeah, I really think soulmates is not a very healthy idea to go with.
Again, for those of you who are thinking, why do you have to settle for as good as it can be while I can wait for the perfect one? Well, I would say have a healthy understanding of world around you. There is nobody that is perfect that you're looking for. If you are just depending on your finite, limited understanding of what perfect is in your assumption. Again, you have to trust God, depend on God, especially in this phase of life where you are wanting to spend this next 30, 40, 50 years of your life. And if it's just on your strength, you would be building something else. And probably if the other person comes into your life, he might be having a different priorities and he's trying to build something else or she's trying to build something else. Priorities are different. And I think there is great potential to fail there, right there.
Oh, yeah. 100%. With marriage and looking for somebody, I think a lot of times within Christian culture, it has been blown out of proportion.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times singles feel very left out in church settings.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many of my friends who are single, who were single in the past and were looking. Sadly, church has not been a very great place to find somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So they're forced to go onto websites. They're forced to go onto apps to find people.
Yeah.
And I don't think something is innately wrong with that. You could certainly use these resources at your disposal. But Chris, something very funny that I've noticed is few of my friends who say, oh, Sarah, I would definitely want a Christian girl or a Christian boy in my life. And these guys are so far away from Jesus. So
You
I
can
am
evidently
thinking,
see that.
yes. So I am like, like, what is it that you're really looking for? Like, why does it even matter if this person is Christian? Because
Mm,
you are having a very lukewarm relationship with the Lord.
mm,
And on the other extreme, I have seen young people being shamed for feeling the desire
mm.
of wanting somebody.
Okay.
uh, instantly people are saying, well, you need to find your satisfaction in the Lord. Like, don't dwell on this. And I'm thinking, yes, you don't want to rely on some person to come fill a void in your life. But the
Yeah.
desire is natural and healthy.
Yeah.
If you don't desire, then there's something wrong.
Yes. Oh, that's another different case. Another episode for the podcast.
So I am thinking, instead of asking this person to push that desire down and say, don't think about it, like just fix your eyes on Jesus right now. And I'm thinking, no, bring that desire to Jesus
Yeah.
while you're still doing other things in life. If it is on your heart heavily, just like any other need, you would bring it up to him. It's not a selfish desire to want to be married.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a holy desire.
Yeah.
Provided you're wanting to be married for the right reasons.
Yes.
And I think, Chris, you can attest to this. When you were single, what
Oh
were some
no.
of the things?
I'm in trouble.
What were some of the things you were feeling that kind of started becoming more obvious to you that you were desiring to be married?
Oh yeah, the one very much out in the face is like your friends start getting married. Some of them have been married and they start to have kids, and you see the world around you. They're kind of like moving on of you being kind of like in that student phase, and then slowly you move on to the next phase, which is like your career. You start working for some company, some employer, and then you get busy in that, and then you slowly kind of like fizzle out of all these student friend relationships, and then you're trying to step onto the next one where your other friends are already stepped on and then they're moving on. And I think you kind of like feel lonely in those moments. It could be just months, it could be a couple of years, or it could be kind of like a decade. But I don't want anybody to be left out in that phase, that confused kind of state. I do have this desire to be married, and that's like any one of us. And what did I do? I think I brought it up to God, like, God, what do you want me to do? And one of the things that, not because of like wise wisdom that I did this, but I wanted to fast and pray, which is like a powerful weapon that we have, fasting and praying and bringing things to God so that God sees your desire in a healthy way. And I think I did kind of like Monday through Thursday, kind of like fasting, just pure water, nothing else. And this was sometime in 2017 or so. I'm dating myself. So right after that, probably a month after that, I got to hear from my dad. Hey, this match comes up, and then I text her and talk with Sarah and all that. Again, you have to pause yourself and realize when you're asking God something and when things are moving, you cannot take credit for it, or you cannot give credit for humans or anybody else around you, but God Himself, give glory to Him. Again, when you bring something up to God, you have to wait, holy anticipation that God's going to give you what you're asking, if it is in His will.
At that
Not
time.
like, yeah. And you have to depend on asking Him everything in His will, His timing, whatever happens. Not like, I want a Rolls Royce and He gives me. No, that's not in His will. He never wants to push you away from Him for the things that you're asking Him. So if it is in His will that He would show me somebody, and that would bring me much closer to Him and depend on Him for that next step of life, He is going to give you. And I genuinely, with conviction, believe that that's God's work that He did in my life, bringing a beautiful woman. So there's a lot of, even in that process, there's a lot of chaos, confusion. They said this, you said that, I said this. Everything happens, but it will be in His timing. Yes. If your goal is just to find a spouse, every church committee, wherever you go, you're just all eyes looking for this one individual. I think you are kind of like being more emphasized on that mistaken priority. But remember, the priority is your relationship with God and you bringing this desire that you want to be married, and everything fits well in His right timing. God's going to give you. He wants you to enjoy this institution that He instituted in the beginning of creation. So, yeah, don't beat your head around. Things
True.
will happen. Things will happen.
It's very interesting, the word loneliness that you mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
because I think a lot of single people are feeling that, right? I have met a few people who were said, I don't know if I'll ever find anybody. What if this is what God has for me? And, I'm just going to be this lonely person.
Celibate.
Well, celibacy is a whole other thing, is that you don't want to be married because you're committing yourself and surrendering yourself to God to do ministry. But that's a whole other conversation. But for those who are desiring to be married, but you don't see any end to this quest,
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine how discouraging that can feel, because it's going to take a direct hit on who you think you are, and the fact that maybe you are deterring people from actually dating
Yeah.
dating you. Or is God really looking for the best thing for me? Is He really looking out for the best thing for me?
Mm-hmm.
And you can immediately begin to doubt His character, not because you don't love God, but because you are in the season of waiting, and it is just weighing on your soul.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's a season, and I think it's very important to recognize that. How long will that season last? I don't know.
Yeah.
But God is always going to use seasons to sanctify us, to shape our desires. And like I said, there is no shame in desiring companionship. I think it's a healthy desire that can be brought to the Lord as many times as it's weighing on your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, like Chris, you were saying, church is the best place. And sometimes we are in churches that really don't have many young people.
True. Yeah.
You might be in a church where there are many young families, which makes it worse, right? Because now you're looking at them and you're
Probably.
like, oh,
Yeah.
this is just because all these families are having kid parties and whatnot, and you just feel like an odd fit into this group. And the struggle is real. I wish I could cater a solution to you on a plate and say, well, this is what it is. But honestly, it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
It's not go to this website and you will definitely find somebody, or go to this app and But I would say be open to all kinds of resources where you can meet people. Because I know a lot of us are like, I would never want my parents to bring somebody to me. That's like the last thing on my mind. I told that to my dad. I was like, please do not let things come to me through relatives, through whoever, because I don't even know what their intentions are in bringing this, alliance or matrimony. Just don't do it. And God used that very same route. Because I was very convinced and sold out that, I'm going to meet this guy somewhere where I'm studying or in ministry, and God chose a very unlikely way. So I would encourage you to be open.
Yes.
If a friend says, hey, why don't you go meet so-and-so? Pray about it, use wisdom. Obviously, don't go meeting 100 guys or 100 women and just, let's try it out, because that's going to be very, very wearisome. It's going to really bring you down, because you don't want to keep pouring yourself out to so many people with expectation.
Yeah.
So with that being said, don't lose hope. It's a season and God will sustain you through it. For those of you who are just beginning to consider, okay, what does this mean for me? What are some things, Chris, that we could be looking out for when you feel like you're emotionally, spiritually ready to embark on this? What are some, I guess, key points to have? Because I think a lot of people, when they meet each other for the first time, we start with a very friendly, basic conversation of what do you like? What do you enjoy? And then we kind of get into that lovey-dovey phase of, oh, I really love this person, and then we kind of lose track from there, right?
Mm.
So what do you think are some things that would be really helpful and robust if you had this as part of your framework?
To anybody that is somewhat serious about their faith and Christian life and wanting to do the right thing going ahead, and especially in this pursuit of wanting to look for a spouse. First thing, whenever you talk to them or when you talk to this potential individual and you meet, I think there is no wrong in asking straightforward questions because you are serious about this. And one of the things you can ask is like, tell me, what is your relationship with Christ? Or see if that person values this aspect of their life as dear, more than anything else. Then comes in that order, probably a potential family, and then any other ambitions. But the first thing is whether they value Jesus and their relationship with Christ or not. And I think as a believer, that should be the priority, even if whether you're married or not married or in any phase of life. I think that is the most valuable thing. Depend on Christ for anything. Depend on God for anything, any step of the way. You should expect the same thing from the other person, whether that individual, that potential individual, is depending on God to trust in Him and take this step. Again, this is a significant decision for your life for next 30, 40, 50 years that you will be with this person.
True.
And I think I would say that is one big first thing. Yes, it's going to sound like, why is this serious question coming in between us in the beginning itself? But if you don't get through this one, every other thing is going to be another difficult question that's coming between you guys. If this one question is sorted and both of you know that this is one non-negotiable, and I think God's going to take care of everything else after that.
True.
Yeah.
What you said is so important, Chris, because, as we were talking, if you don't have a relationship with Jesus, it's kind of foolish to expect the other person to have a good relationship with Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot tell you how many marriages we've seen growing up where women are the ones who are pushing the family along to church. Women are the ones who want you to pray and learn and try to be close to Jesus. And that structure is going to fail. Because if truly the dad or the man in the house is surrendered to Jesus, the family is going to look very different. And you don't want to establish that pattern from day one.
Yeah. As the head of the family, Nick, below Christ, you should be the one leading your family.
True. And so, I think that's the number one thing, like Chris, you were saying, you need to know where this person stands with Jesus.
Yeah.
Like you can have all these fun things in common. He or she might be the perfect fit according to your, the things that you really wish to see in a spouse. And if this falls through, I don't know what we're building our marriage on.
Yeah.
So the second thing I think would be make a list as you're going about this journey is make a list of the top 5 things that you are looking for in a person. And we have many funny stories about this. But, this is not the kind of list where you're like, wow, God, I really hope he's going to be 6 foot tall, really good looking man. And I hope he's going to make good money because, I've always wanted to be in a wealthy family. Refrain from those kinds of things. Yes, I am not opposed to us wanting to be drawn to a person and for them to be good looking. And honestly, good looking can be very subjective.
Yes.
Who we find like to be attractive or not. But, top 5 things character-wise.
Yeah.
What do you want to see in this person as an individual, as somebody who is going to be with you in 4 walls, and that this is the core of that individual? What are some things that you want in a partner? I think that's a very important thing.
Yes.
Prayerfully consider what these things are. Like Chris and I always make jokes about, well, I want to marry somebody who's in ministry, and all that I prayed for was, Lord, I want this man to be calm and a peaceful person. And then once we got married, Chris is everything and beyond that. But then also with the calm and peaceful person, it is very hard to get things out of his mouth sometimes. And it bugs me so much.
Yeah.
And he has
Because
something similar too. So
yeah, because I tend to keep my calm and
little too
pleasantness,
much.
even in kinds of disagreements scenarios. Like, okay, she wants to get an answer out of me, and I'm like, okay, I'm calm, I'm pleasant. I don't want to say anything here. So watch what you're asking for and have these priorities, not like superficial priorities, like how
Right.
she was mentioning, but have something realistic, character wise, that you would have these top 5 things that you want to look in this potential individual. It could be a man, it could be a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is something that you're like, absolutely not? Like, I could not do this. And I hope your number one deal breaker is if this person doesn't know Jesus or doesn't love Jesus. I cannot tell you how many people have kind of fooled themselves into thinking, you know what, I'm just going to pursue this relationship, even though this individual is not a Christian, because eventually down the line, I can change him or her. And they hold on to those one or two examples somewhere that worked out. And you're like, this is going to be my story. And I would say, don't do it. Save yourself the years of struggle that's going to entail, where you're going to be raising children with this individual and knowing that this person will not have the same mind as you. And if you truly say you value Christ,
Mm.
then you're contradicting yourself. Because if I want to build a family that's founded and rooted on Christ, then I cannot do it with somebody who doesn't know Jesus.
Yes.
What if you're already in a relationship with somebody and you're very committed to this individual? I would say pray about it and ask the Lord and say, God, the last thing you want is for that person to become a Christian for your sake.
Yes.
Then their faith is only going to go as far as you go. And let me tell you, in those early years when you're in love, they are going to be 100% committed to that. But once you're married and life hits you with waves and tides, and that person's faith was rooted on you or built on you, then you're in trouble. You're in serious trouble. And you cannot undo that then.
Again, there could be very much of exceptional cases,
Mm-hmm.
but the normative principle is you want to go to God and ask whether this is God's will for you. I know the answer is going to be very hard to accept, but if God shows you the way that this is not what He has planned for you,
Mm-hmm.
what His will is for you, then you should be ready to walk away from that.
True.
Which is hard. I know it is hard. But yes, you want to be loyal to Christ
Mm-hmm.
than these 30, 40 years of relationship.
Yes.
After this life, there is another reality that we don't get to see where you will be with Christ if you prioritize that.
Mm.
But if not, definitely you are going to have those consequences after this life,
True.
which is just the reality that we don't get to see it now.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a caution there.
True. It's very interesting because I think this word or this term, will of God, is thrown around a lot in this context.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm praying for the will of God for this so and so person. And sometimes it's as clear as night and day that this person has nothing to do with God. There are so many red flags, and you're still praying for the will of God. Let me tell you, the will of God is walk away. Right? I think we are just hoping God would give us some leeway. God would kind of, nudge and say, well, I think it'll work out. I'm just going to give you a green light. I would say look at God's word and tally everything against it. Check everything against it, because you really cannot just wait around saying, well, let me figure out God's will, even though this person like abuses alcohol, or this person has issues with really bad temperament. And, you see all these red flags, and then you're still like, well, I'm going to wait around for God's will. I hope you write down and say, this is a deal breaker. And you see if it's a biblical deal breaker or not. and put it down. And so I think that's another important thing. And the fourth thing, like Chris and I were saying, look for the character first. Our culture is obsessed with looks. Our culture is obsessed with success and money. And we
Yes.
sacrifice character on the altar of all other things that make it an ideal marriage. At the end of the day, when money falls, your looks fail, character is going to remain, and you're going to hate your life and the other person for making that decision.
Yes. We have seen those examples too.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are sad realities now.
You decide who you want while you're giving birth to a child. You decide who you want while you're building your home from ground up. When you lose money, you don't want a person who's going to be bickering because they were really great to you when everything was going well. So think about character. And the last thing is talk about your worldview and belief system. This, Chris, like worldview and belief is such a big word. Can you help us understand a little bit of what that means?
Worldview is something, imagine that you're wearing glasses, and you see the whole world around you through these glasses. And if those glasses are not built with conviction and understanding of who God is and why are we here, how are we created, what are we to do here, and where are we going next? These are the main things. Question like, what is human design? What is human flourishing? Why did God made us here? What's the purpose of us being here? If somebody doesn't have answers to these questions, and if they're like kind of like fluid answers, like, oh, we are just here, atoms, just enjoying here, and then after we are done here, and then there is nothing more, and those are kind of like questionable concepts. The worldview, when we say worldview, is like what is their understanding of their purpose here? What is God's will for them in this life? What are they to do? What is the understanding of everything around? And if you have this understanding with this individual, like what are these questions? What are the answers? Not that every answer, if they get the answers right, and then it's like tick mark, correct character. No, but you want to understand this person, potential husband or wife or spouse.
Yeah.
Definitely get those kind of like non-negotiables. We are hoping that you guys write these things down so that you will know the most about this other person
Yep.
before you make this huge life decision that you're about to embark on. Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about why do they think marriage is important?
Mhm.
Talk to them. Do they want children? If so, why? What is their understanding of children? Because there are some people who detest raising children. And if you're going to be married to somebody like that, you're going to be single parenting in a marriage.
Yes. Yeah. That
So-
doesn't mean that you'll be divorced. You'll be together, but
But
you'll
you'll
be
be a
the only
single
one
parent.
raising kids. Yeah. Yeah.
Talk to them, like, ask the woman, what do you think of motherhood? What does this mean to you? Because if career is everything, like nothing can get in the way of me building my career, I am telling you, children are going to take that hit. Or if a man says, my career is everything, family comes after, the wife and children are going to take a hit. And I think we kind of refrain from having serious conversations because this is supposed to be a fun time, getting to know somebody. But after that first or second conversation, I think it's important to ask all of these questions because you don't want to go in for a surprise.
Yes.
Chris and I honestly, truly believe with all our heart that one of the primary reasons why we enjoy our marriage is because we have a united goal.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
cannot tell you how much that changes everything. Yes, we get to do ministry together, but that's only one aspect of it. So, Chris, talk about that. What does it mean? Like even while we were still getting to know each other, how were you able to recognize a little bit? Because obviously you can't know all of it. That, okay, I see eye to eye with this person and our goal is we're on the same page.
Yeah, I think one point that you can pinpoint, one understanding, one statement that you can pinpoint to when you're trying to get the other know the other person is whether this person has a different goal in life and you have a different goal in life. But if both of you see like a combined united goal of growing in Christ, maturing in Christ, and building something that lasts and eternal,
Mm.
not just a ministry, but both of you individually and then both combinedly, like life partners together, that you are building your kids,
Mm.
building yourself, and giving the opportunities to each one of you to grow in God, and nudging each other to
Mm.
have this one combined goal of pursuing Christ than anything else. That makes a huge difference. That makes a huge difference. And I've heard from people that know us would say they both are on the same page, so you cannot deter them from what they're doing,
Mm.
which is a huge witness and a
Right.
testimony when people see us they both are on the same page, and you cannot get them away from what they're doing,
Mm.
which is so good. And I give thanks to God for this blessing of this marriage, that he is the rock bedrock foundation for us to do
Absolutely.
anything,
Yeah.
even this podcast. Our
True.
goal is that people would see the sweetness and joy in being married, and pursuing God with that being as the combined united goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I'll say this: not everybody who is in the ministry, both wife and husband, have the same goal.
Mm.
It could be that what spouse has a different goal, and the other one has a different goal, and they're just pursuing this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're not saying both of you need to have the same job.
No, 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 no.
So we're clarifying that. We're not saying, you have to be on the same workspace or whatever. But you could be doing two separate things because you're two separate people in the sense God has given you unique gifts. But when you sit down at the end of the day and ask, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I willing to make these sacrifices as a woman and as a man? If your answer is not Christ, then that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So just to kind of wrap it up, um, you know, don't be very rigid. I think that is my encouragement. And I wish somebody told me that when I was in that season of wanting to be married is don't be so tight-fisted that it will take a lot to open that hand and see what God can give you. Because God will surprise you in ways you can never imagine. And the culture says a happy marriage is what we are all looking for. And I would say that is a lie, because it's a healthy marriage that we're looking for. It's a godly marriage that we're looking for. And if happiness is the end result of that, then that's okay. But if happiness is your motive, if happiness is what you're looking for, you're going to be disappointed.
Yes. Yes.
Because it's not going to be all rosy and pretty, but also it's going to be very satisfying.
Yes.
And I don't think they're the same things. So
Yeah.
our encouragement is keep waiting on the Lord. Don't be ashamed of having the desire to want to be married.
Mhm.
But also don't be swallowed up. Don't wallow in it. Give Lord the space to work as you wait. And don't make it all about yourself. Just let the Lord work it through.
Yeah. And I hope you guys have gotten something out of what we were like talking about in this phase of you potentially looking for somebody, and top priorities, non negotiables. And then if you can write down 5 things that are top things that you are looking for in this potential individual, we would love if you have gotten these things down, and have a good relationship with Christ than anything else. And I would say this: we never know when we will be called up, whether it could be a sudden instance that you haven't expected, or a natural life cause that God is calling you up as soon. One thing only that stands up is your relationship with Christ and who holds your soul. And that is an more of a reality nowadays for Christians
Hmm.
than anything else. Your relationship with Christ is the only thing that stands and continue to pray for us as we delve into these subjects and questions that what is this marriage has to do with your life here and this design that God has made. And we will go into much more deeper, different phases of life and how God purposed us to live here. How shall we live? And the famous question. And also, continue to listen to our podcast. And if you like it, subscribe, share, so that many people get to listen to these things and how faith and culture they don't contradict each other, but they support each other in living an effective life wherever you are from.
That's true. And if
So-
you have a single friend, send this to them. Because I'm sure it's hard enough being single in our culture where, you have so many options. People would say, just keep trying people. Why don't you just sleep around with a bunch of people? It's not wrong. And resist the urge to assimilate with the culture. We want to be one with Christ, which means we have to separate ourselves from the world. So don't take the easy route.
Yes.
Don't test drive multiple people, because you're going to keep giving away a piece of your heart every time you do that. So resist the urge to take the worldly way and stay faithful to Jesus. And I will promise you that he rewards those who faithfully wait on him. For sure.
And that's a wrap for this episode.
Yeah.
If you like, click a like button on whether you're watching on YouTube, Spotify, all the other platforms. We appreciate you listening to On Mission with the Mindies. And here's Chris, and that's Sarah. See you guys again. Thank you.